Hello, this is Andrew yet again, and this today is episode 117. And today we're picking up the text again in Matthew's Gospel, in Matthew chapter 15, verses 29 through to 31. After Jesus had left that place, now remember he was at Tyre and Sidon on the coast, he passed along the Sea of Galilee and went up the mountain where he sat down. Great crowds came to him, bringing with them the lame, the maimed, the blind, the mute, and many others. They put him at his feet, and he cured them, so that the crowd was amazed when they saw the mute speaking, the maimed whole, the lame walking, and the blind seeing, and they praised the God of Israel. It's a wonderful story, isn't it? It sounds like a reprise on the Sermon on the Mount. He went up the mountain. It doesn't say which mountain it was, but I think the reader is left with the impression that it was a familiar place. So my hunch it would be that same place, the place on the Sermon on the Mount. And the people are gathering for an expectation that something wonderful is going to happen, that Jesus is going to teach, he's going to heal. And they bring all those who are unwell, as it said, the lame, the maimed, the blind, the mute, and many others. And it's interesting to me that while they were amazed at the response of Jesus, that they were all healed, there was an expectation that that's exactly what he was going to do. Why else had they come? Why else did they cast virtually their people, those who were ill and unwell and damaged, at the feet of Jesus, unless they were expecting him to do something? Yet it would seem that Jesus met their expectations and more. I had a fight with my sister. She's a person who, it was ugly actually. I was ugly. I regret it, and we still need to mend the bridge there. But she's a proponent of the Swedish model. The idea that with the coronavirus you just leave everything as they are basically and let it run its course. She imagines that it's not really that serious, even though thousands of people have died and thousands of people will die, but that it's something you just need to let happen. I personally find that actually really difficult on a whole lot of levels. And one of the questions I'm left with is, well, what would Jesus have done? And I think this passage here tells us. It tells us actually that Jesus would have gone out of his way to do what he can to prevent people from getting sick. Jesus would have gone out of his way to ensure that in every way that was possible they were able to live full and whole and complete lives. That Jesus would have done what he could to make sure that people could face each day with a renewed sense of God's presence and of God's love and of God working in them. The bit that I was really with as I read this is the end. And they praised the God of Israel. There was something in what was happening that the people recognised that this wasn't just about Jesus. This was about something that God was doing. And they rejoiced in that. They give thanks for that. And although that Jesus was the vehicle for transformation, Jesus was a vehicle for healing and for renewal and for a new beginning, there was a place within them that they recognized that this was something that God is doing. We live in an age when the channel is so often the one that gets the praise. It's the person whom God uses that is the one that everybody focuses on and says, didn't they do a wonderful job? But it's God who's doing it. And it's actually really important for both the channel and for everybody else to recognise that it's God who's at work here. The unseen partner, but the one who is in fact the only true healer. The one from whom all blessings flow. That it's God at work. And it's worth us thinking about that when we're at a place where we encounter healing in whatever form it comes. Whether it be through the words that someone speaks, whether it be through the laying on of hands or through a prayer or through a special touch in some way, that the healer is God. The giver is God. And although we rejoice that God chooses to use human vehicles to be those with whom, through whom grace is shared, it's ultimately God who's at work. It also seems to me is that when we think about it in those terms, that God being at work is much broader than the narrow little sectarian picture that we have of God. Because God works through a particular set of preachers or a particular set of healers, it's something that's restricted to that group. But that in fact when we recognise that it's God who's at work, there's something much more global about that. Because God is at work all the time. God is at work in every person. God is at work in every people group. I want to suggest that God is at work also in every religious group. That wherever love is present, wherever love is exercised, that true self-giving love, that God is actually at work. We see it here. Here's Jesus. He sees these people. He reaches towards them with compassion, with a profound generosity and desire to see all healed. And God works. And it is God who gets glorified. Now you may think I'm being syncretistic. I'm not. I think we need to think though past the little group that we're part of, to see that actually God loves each person on this planet as much as He loves you and as He loves me. And His desire for healing is as true for somebody who's in the back blocks of India or in the jungle of South America or on the streets of New York as God is committed to you and to me. And so we praise the God of Israel. Amen.